Hi, it's Edwin, and you are listening to the Successful Mentalist podcast.
That's right, it's the Successful Mentalist podcast, and of course, my name is Ashley Green, and I'm joined by the amazing
Aidan O'Sullivan. I can say my name normally, unlike some. What the heck was that?
Hey, I wanted to make it different as usual, just kind of alter it as it goes along, change the pitch up. I always want to keep people on their toes, especially, wow, Aidan, you know me, slurring my words. We're 10 seconds into a podcast and I'm already like, especially.
He's drunk, ladies and gentlemen, drunk. So drunk.
Don't tell them, they can't see it's a podcast. Oh my God, the shame of the vodka. No, but especially for the people watching live, Sven, I see you there. Hope you guys are going to join this. And if you do want to join any of our live podcast recordings, head over to thesuccessfulmentalist.com/community. You'll be able to sign up for free. Check out the events tab. We've got loads of stuff there. But without further ado, we're actually going to interview someone who, oh my golly. Aidan, I've known this guy a little while. You've known this guy a little while. And we've seen him go from just regular magician to, hey, look at me. I'm a pro. I'm busier than you. I make more money than you. Yeah, I'm awesome. It's easy. I do it. I rock. Everything's easy. I'm great at everything. There's nothing I'm not good at. It's Mr. I'm great at everything, Edwin Todd.
Hi, and thanks for that intro.
I'll be honest, I'm sure the way that Edwin comes across is an awful lot less of the ego on that front. I think we can all agree on that one.
I wanted to give you the ego because you bloody well deserve it, man. What you've done is fantastic, and that's why we've got you here, because we want to dissect that, because we know we're going to get a wealth of information out of you today. But first of all, for people who haven't heard of you, can you tell us who Edwin Todd is, and specifically why you're here on the podcast? I just want to say I've beefed you up to be great at everything, and so far the way you answer the question is literally like, sure.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm slightly less full of myself than Ashley made out. Only slightly though. Yeah, I'm 20 years old. I'm a professional magician. Well, I've just recently become a professional magician after attempting to do so for a very long time. Yeah, life's going good. I love it. That's basically what I do. I'm really into health and fitness as well, but mainly just magic.
I love this. And I'm sure we're going to talk about what your position is right now a little bit later on. But the first thing that's I think is particularly important is for you to paint the picture of what were things like a few months back? Think as long as you like here, but like what was life for you? You said you was trying to become a professional magician for the longest time. What was going on? Tell us about that time.
Okay, so before lockdown, things had started to go quite like getting better, going fairly well. Like I just got myself a really good residency, and that was helping me start to get some gigs and stuff. And then COVID hit. Obviously, most people got messed up by that. So during lockdown, I did like the odd online show here and there, but I wasn't able to make it like a full-time thing. I don't think I had like just enough clientele and stuff to reach out to make it happen. So I got myself a job at Morrison's because I needed to pay the bills, and it was locked down, and that was the only thing that was open. So that was extremely boring, but it was all right. And then following like the lockdowns and stuff, I moved out of that and went into doing a little bit of bar work as well as trying to do magic. And then through that and through doing stuff like the course with you guys, I've then managed to transition really quite quickly from working in a bar full time to doing magic full time.
And it's fantastic. And what I'm interested in to know, like, you've kind of painted like the scene of where you're at, but what were some of the struggles? Like you said, you was looking to become a full-time magician. This is always something you wanted to do, but then you had to get the part-time job because you couldn't quite get the gigs and you didn't have the clientele. What were some of the struggles? Why at that time did you not think you could get the gigs? What was you going through and just, bring us into your world here?
Well, I was at a point where, I was before lockdown, like when I got my residency, I was like 17, turning 18. Like I didn't necessarily need a full-time job, so it wasn't like crucial for me to be making enough money from doing magic. So it was like anything that I got was a bonus, basically. So then when I started getting I got a really well paid residency, working for Gordon Ramsay, which was awesome. And then things started to go up, and it was going great. And like I was meeting people there, and that was meaning that, you know, a few weeks later they were like, "Oh, do you want to do my party or my wedding or whatever?" And then I think just because I'd only been doing it for a few months before the lockdown, like I didn't have enough backlog or had made enough connections with enough people that when the lockdown hit, I was able to make it work doing stuff online as opposed to in person. I think I was relying quite heavily on having an in-person residency every week to make stuff happen. Whereas, you know, obviously when lockdown hit, everything got shut, and then I was like, oh crap, where do I go from here?
I'm sure we'll even touch on residencies in a little while. But I mean, you said something there. Obviously, for people listening here, people will probably be thinking, oh yeah, well, he was able to go pro because he was young and he didn't have commitment for bills, and he doesn't have a mortgage to pay, or insert other big financial thing here. But I think the principle, the core mindset that you was in is that you had a job, or you didn't have the pressure behind magic, which is what a lot of people do. They have their own jobs, and magic is just something on the side for them. And so that anything for them in the world of magic is a pro, except sure, for based on your position back then to the average person's position, the gap between the finances might be significantly bigger for some people, or maybe even just a small bit bigger. But the point there, actually having the mindset of like, I don't need magic, that was a really important point that we just wanted to pull out and just make clear for everybody that's actually listening to this.
I should point out though, that sort of like relatively soon after that, like as it, you know, the lockdown progressed and stuff, obviously like I grew up and I did actually start needing to pay bills and stuff, and like I moved out and everything. I had to pay rent, and like it was like it went quite quickly from not needing to pay it and make a full-time income to like really needing one. Hence why I ended up getting a job at Morrison's during COVID.
Big up Morrison's. So let's look into this now. Obviously, we've been in this position, and I think most entertainers that commit to going full time feel the same kind of way, in that it's tough, right? And there's usually either a significant change that requires them to adapt and commit to magic, or there's just a burning passion. And in your case, it was pretty much both actually tied up there. So tell us about the transition. What was it like going from where you were full-time pro, and how did you go about actually making the leap and jumping over to full-time?
Well, I had a lot of advice from a lot of people, like you guys, for example, following the course and stuff. That was really, really helpful. And I think gave me a lot of like the knowledge of stuff, because I feel like something like you can be like the best magician in the world, but if you're like have no business savvy at all, then it's irrelevant. Like if you can't sell yourself. So I think that was a big thing. I completely like upped my prices and everything like that. Sorry, I'm losing my voice a little bit at the moment.
So see, I told you, he works and gigs all the time. So today it's a rare day that we've got him, and he's like, I'm in recovery mode, and your boys have got him here to do a podcast. I've got another gig later. God.
It's honestly, I've been losing my voice for like 2 weeks, because every time that I recover my voice, I then go to like a gig that's like 3 hours long, and then like I perform so long that I just lose it by the end of it again. But yeah, so I had lots of great advice, especially on how to like run a business and stuff. And I have other magicians who've like helped me as well a lot, like gave me a lot of advice. So that was great. And then also just working in a bar, that was a great thing for me, because I was doing that full time, and then obviously they knew that I was a magician, and I like sort of just went off book and started doing magic to people at the venue. And then like the owners started to be like, oh shit, that's really cool, like let's get him doing this more. So then he started being like, oh, you know, I'll still pay you your wage to do all the bar and stuff, but I'll give you like 50 quid or whatever every Saturday and Friday to go around and do magic. And I was like, yeah, it's a good start. So I started doing that, and then from doing that, and getting them to leave, getting customers to leave loads of reviews on the website of the company and the TripAdvisor and stuff, and then getting, just making connections, asking people if they had any events coming up. Then I started to get bookings from that, and then relatively quickly, it sort of suddenly went from like, I really need this bar job to pay my rent, to like, oh my god, I'm actually making more money doing magic from like the odd gig here and there that I'm getting than I'm actually making there. So I handed in my notice, and also got in contact with the owner and stuff, who like was getting me to do magic anyway, and was like, do you want to pay me like a bit more to come and do magic officially, like as just a magician once a week? And he was like, yeah, great. So we're just setting that up now, which is great. I started getting other residencies as well. So one of the things, I think this is a great tip for anyone, especially if you have like a bar or waiting experience, is I think one of the most difficult things for getting residencies is like the actually getting to talk to the right person. Like, I've done it before, where you go around to restaurants and you're like, hey, is there a manager I can speak to or whatever? And like the amount of unhelpful people, or the people who don't know if they can give you the manager, or don't know if you're worth listening to. I think you're just cold calling, or you're going to tell them about Jesus. So I just started booking myself interviews as a bartender at places, and then like you're already face to face with the manager. So I would get an interview as a bartender, and then rock up and be like, yes, I do have bar experience, but I'm also a magician, and this is actually what I'm doing full time now since I applied for your interview. And I thought it was worth coming along anyway to say, would you like a magician at your restaurant? And they're like, huh? And then you show them something, and then they're generally impressed. And then it's like a really good way to get in straight to, and cut all the crap. So yeah.
You sneaky boy.
Yeah, so I've just been doing that, and then obviously every gig that you get at like weddings and parties and stuff, you meet more people, and then you get more gigs as a result of that.
I just want to recap to make sure that we've definitely got that on paper. The way you've got some of your residencies is to apply for a job interview, be so good you get the job interview, turn up, and then say, oh, when I applied for the job, I was looking for the job, but since then I've become a full-time magician. I thought it was good for me coming anyway, because I actually do entertainment, and I know that can benefit your hospitality industry or catering, blah, 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 blah. And then you pitch your services direct one-on-one to the person who is the decision maker. You sneaky devil. I've not heard anyone doing that, and I can see literally every hospitality industry is going to be swamped with applications now.
Magicians. Just make it up. Just say you've got years of bar experience, and then just turn up.
God, so good. So sneaky. One of the things I really appreciate about this, and from what you've sounded like, you just sound so chilled as, oh yeah, this happened. Just a yes/no answer here, because it sounds easy to go full-time. Was it easy? I know you had our help through our Learn to Thrive course, and we was guiding you, kind of like holding a hand and like pushing you to take certain direction. But what you done on your end, in reality, was it easy to go full time?
It was definitely a lot easier than I thought it would be. Like, I feel like it suddenly went from, me thinking, oh my God, this is going to be really difficult. I'm going to have to spend ages building up my business. Like, I even told the people, like, I was around that, I reckon maybe in the next like 6 months I might be able to go full time, and then like 2 weeks later it's like, fine, I can quit my other job. I think there's definitely things to learn like along the way. Like, there's definitely things that were difficult, but on the whole, like, the transition's been pretty easy.
Well, I think that's something, you said something there that's so important, and that's that people, when they set goals and things, and they set these big especially in this case, going full time. That's a massive career transition. People set these for like ridiculously long periods of time. Like I know that when we first started coaching and working with entertainers 1-to-1, we were getting people saying 1 year, 2 year, 5 years down the line. And again, you came in very, very optimistically saying 6 months. Like, I reckon I could do it in 6 months. And then to crush that in 2 weeks, that was, again, from our end, bloody incredible. But the point I wanted to get through there is like, you set this ambition. What criteria in your head, if any, did you have to be able to say, yes, I'm now in a position where I can go full time? Because for a lot of people, going full time is a big transition. There's a lot of impacts that's going to have. And just being able to go 2 weeks to make that decision from, oh my God, this is going to be the biggest change in my life, to, oh yeah, I'm going to do it. I know it's going to be fine. Like, what was going on in your head at that point? Were there any criteria, or was there anything that you was trying to achieve in that time?
Yeah. So I'd say that, like, well, first of all, like the boring stuff, like, I had to be making like a certain amount of money from Magic for it to be like, I can officially quit my job and it won't affect me. Like, and to be honest, I wasn't looking to be like making loads. I was just looking to, at least get by. And I was like, as soon as I can, like, assure myself that I can regularly pay my bills and stuff from just doing Magic, then like, that's fine. I can hand in my notice, quit my job. So that was like one of the main things, to be honest. And I'll admit, I did go a bit like all out. Like, I feel like a lot of people would have waited to see like for a month or two if it was going to continue that way. But I don't know. I just felt like it was building so well and it was going so great, and it was getting to the point where having a full-time job as well was hindering my ability to like accept other gigs and stuff. And I was getting in trouble at work for like basically not turning up because I had a gig. Or like cancelling last minute or calling in sick. So I was like, yeah, I've just sort of got to go for it now. And yeah, I feel like having a residency as well. Like, I mean, to be honest, I have actually gone like a month without really having any constant work like that, any residencies, because well, one of my main residencies setting up has just opened or hasn't opened yet, so they're like still building the bar and it keeps getting delayed every week. It's really annoying. And then people take a couple of weeks generally to get stuff sorted, but I feel like having a residency or somewhere that you go every week and you can assure is like a constant source of income is really helpful, because then that's like, for me, it's like that's like my full-time job. Like, because I'm going to have, hopefully in the next few weeks, I'm going to have 3 different residencies set up, all paying really decent amounts. And then that's like my full-time job. So 3 days a week I work, and then anything I get on top of that, like, and that more than covers my bills and everything like that, and sets me up with a bit extra as well. And then anything on top of that I get, like weddings, parties, corporate events, anything, is just like a big fat bonus. So I feel like that's like one of the biggest things that helps me go from not really doing it to full time.
And do you mind if you tell us, if it's all right? It's a very direct question, but on average, how much do you charge for a residency? Because I know it's a big question that goes around the magic industry a lot.
Yeah, well, I'm charging £200 for every residency, and that's for 2 to 3 hours of magic, and with a bit of a like food break in the middle as well.
That's a decent wage each month. There's some people that do full-time jobs, and when you work out that you got 3 a week, £200, there's people with full-time jobs that earn less money a month from you when you're just doing residencies and no gigs. So kudos there. Kudos.
Thanks, man. I mean, I should point out, I am happy to go lower than that as well. Like, I would generally, so like it depends, like, because people like to renegotiate and stuff as well. Like, but I've set 200 because I'm happy with, like, if 150 or even like 125, it's still more than enough to pay my bills. So if I go in at like 250 or something like that, and then with the intention of going to 200, but not caring if I go to 150. Then if I go, 250, and then they're like, and I'm like, oh, no, it's fine. You know what? I'll give you a discount. We can go to 200. Then I feel like that's been working well. And also being able to tell them that you charge that at your other residencies is extremely helpful, because even if you don't, you can just make it up. But if you just go in and say, well, my other residencies pay me this, and they've actually, or you can even say that they've offered you to do more days a week or whatever, but you really want to like branch out and go to some different places, then it really encourages them to pay you that. And also to tell them what your hourly rate is outside of residencies as well. So when they say like, how much do you charge? And I go, when I do all these events, I'm charging this. But for you guys, we're helping each other out. So I'm going to charge this. Then they become much more like, oh yeah, it's a great idea.
Well, it reminds me of the old pricing strategies that you hear out there. Like there was this old story of there was a team that basically went in to actually go and help increase the profits in this specific restaurant, and they had the menu out there, and they had a look at like the wine list, for example, and they saw that they had it was a good wine list and stuff, but the first thing that they noticed is that it was priced low to high. So the first thing that they actually did is they stuck on a really big, expensive bottle of wine at the very bottom, like a ridiculously expensive thing, like however much the bottle of wine is, like 10 times that on the bottom. Instantly, that was able to bump up the average price point of the bottle of wine bought or the wine purchased, purely because you've got that. Oh, I don't really want to pay for the cheap stuff. Like, I want some good stuff. And then the second thing that they actually did is they started actually saying that big expensive bottle of wine, and they put that on the top of the list, so that now people actually go to the list. As they start reading the list, they see this bottle of wine, £50,000. Oh my gosh. Okay. Now then the drop off is it's much nicer. And I think that's something that, obviously we've started actually doing when you're quoting and packaging and stuff, but the fact that you're able to do this right here in a conversation with a residency to basically be honest and say, look, I charge an awful lot more for private events. Let's help each other out. That's a really, really nice little bit of psychology that you're actually implementing in there.
Smart guy. Told you he was a smart guy. He's a man of all knowledge. And look, we've spoken a lot about residencies, but let's go straight to the chase, Edwin. Me and Aidan both know you're busy because you've been chatting to us through Learn to Thrive, like constantly, like picking our brains and just updating us with your joyous success of joy, my dude. How do you get gigs? Like, is there a process? I know it's different in a residency and it's different when you're at a gig and then it's different when you're not at a gig. So I don't know if you can cover like all three scenarios, but if I was out there as a beginner magician, and I went, okay, Edwin, I've followed your advice. Whether they was ballsy and done the sneaky way or the other way of getting an interview or just going the regular way. And they got a residency. And now they're thinking, okay, I want to actually get some gigs. Where do they start? And if you can cover in residency, not at residency, just like out and about. And then also, once they've got a gig, how do they get more from that? So 3 areas, big question, lot to consider. But how would you go about it?
So I've basically done loads of different methods. One thing I'll throw in there as well for anyone who doesn't know about it, if you want gigs, it might not necessarily be like the best gigs, but you have more of a chance of like getting them, and it's a good way to start, is you should definitely follow the Facebook group Magic Gig Share, because there's people like every day people are posting on there, and it's basically like if a magician can't do a gig, then they'll be like they'll send someone else over, and it's generally if you're like the first or second person to reply to it, then you'll get sent forward for it. And like that's enabled me to go like across the country and like to places that I wouldn't necessarily have met at my residencies or gigs. So I've ended up doing gigs in like Bristol and stuff like that, and now as a result of doing that one gig over there, now I've got a whole another stream of people from the same area who now all follow me on Instagram and stuff like this, and now I'm getting other gigs there. But anyway, back to the question. The way I get gigs at residencies, I I pressure it a little bit less because I know that I'm going to meet hundreds of people in that night, and I know that I'm going to be there the next week or the next night at a different residency, etc. So I don't like to, go to every single table and be like, hi, I'm the magician. Do you have any events? Like, are you getting married? Are you getting married? Like, I like to keep it a little bit more chill. But what I do is I get as many people as possible to follow me on Instagram. I feel like Instagram is probably my favorite business tool because, so I get them all to follow me on Instagram. I use a trick called Hydra. If none of you know what that is, it's I think you should all get it. So it's only like £20 or something. It's an app, and it basically enables you to have them Google any city in the world and then have it predicted in your Instagram bio, your actual Instagram bio, so you can get them to go onto their phone and go onto Instagram, look up your Instagram, and then, oh my God, it says that the city you'll think of is Amsterdam. Everyone freaks out. You can predict loads of other things as well. It's sort of only limited to your imagination. But then they're already on your Instagram page, and then you just you can click follow for them. It's funny, or you can, just ask them, do you reckon that's worth a follow? Like, that was pretty cool, right? And and then everyone else in the group wants to follow you on Instagram as well. So that's a great way to do it. And then when they're all following you on Instagram, just hit them up a few days later, maybe. You don't want to be messaging them 5 minutes after they've left. And so I hit them up a tiny bit later, and I'm like, hey, I met you the other night. Thanks for coming, etc. I saw that review you left on the website for me. That's awesome. Thank you so much. And then I'm just like, oh, by the way, do you know anyone who's getting married? Do you have any parties coming up, or maybe a company do, whether that you'd be interested in having some entertainment for? Because this is what I actually do full time. Not obviously, if you message hundreds of people, not all of them are going to reply with good things, but I feel like if you get in contact with enough people, then some of them, sometimes it's going to work out. I was at the point that I find as well, if you push it enough, you can always find work. Like yesterday, I was sitting down and I was like, oh my God, I could really use another gig this month. So I sat down and I was like, right, how am I going to do it? And I just started messaging loads of people. People I've met at residencies. Another one I started doing was following certain hashtags and messaging, basically cold messaging on Instagram. So I followed hashtag bride to be 2022, or hashtag recently engaged, stuff like this. And then I would message those people, and I actually managed to get a couple bookings out of that. So that was great. And also just posting on my Instagram, one of those poll things. Do you know anyone getting married? Yes or no? And the amount of people who know someone getting married and can put you in contact with them is amazing. And I'm going to do that every few weeks as I get more Instagram followers. So yeah, that's my sort of residency process.
Yeah, we're just on that. The few things that I want to make really clear here. I mean, that last tip there in terms of the poll. But I'll be honest, the second me and Ashley saw you using that, we was like, yeah, that guy knows his stuff. It's genius.
No, it wasn't just that. We messaged you and we went, oi, you're being sneaky again. We're going to use this tomorrow.
Yeah. And I'll have you know, Edwin, we both actioned this and got several leads out of it, actually, which I'll be honest is quite lovely. But the point I'm making here is that what you've actually done is that rather than in the residency in the moment, you're trying to pitch, or look for work, what you're actually doing is looking for potential work, but lining up opportunities for long-term nurture in your play area, if you like it. We'll use Instagram as the play area here. What you're actually doing is you're bringing these people that you meet into your world so that you can do follow-up. You can nurture them over the long haul because they're following you, they're supporting your work. And I think it goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. It doesn't just have to be Instagram. At the end of the day, if you run a Facebook page, you can point people there, but your email list, get them on that. be honest, I'd probably try and get them over the course of a couple of weeks on all of these, so you're completely in their world. But the point being is that you've actually set yourself up for successful long-term nurture because you're playing to your strengths on a platform that you understand and enjoy using, more importantly. And you've just latched two great opportunities together, and here's some gigs.
Yeah.
Really simple stuff.
And I think as well with the social media, like before I was really sure that I had to like use all of them. Like I was trying to use Facebook as well. And I'll be honest, I hate Facebook. I can't stand it. I think it just doesn't compute with me. So I was trying to do that, and I was posting the same stuff and sometimes different stuff, and I just felt like the quality went down. And I'll be honest, I don't even post that much on Instagram. I have a lot of stuff that I've now got ready to post, and I'm going to start posting very regularly because I want to try and build up my following and stuff. But I feel like actually picking one platform that you're really comfortable with, like I used to think that was like a negative, like, you have to be on everything. But actually choosing one and sticking with it is like really, really, it doesn't, I don't feel like it hinders me at all. Like I feel like it's actually been really beneficial. Like even my Facebook page says on it, like I don't really use Facebook. Like it says in my bio, I don't really use Facebook, but here's a link to my Instagram. DM me or give me a call.
I've got one of the things that I've set up, because again, Facebook is just so weird. I actually set up automatic replies so that every time somebody messages, they get the automatic reply to basically say, hey, look, I'm not very active on Facebook and this mailbox doesn't really get checked. If you'd like to actually have a conversation, here's my email. Because I know that for me, I'm much better at following up people via email than in a Facebook box that's very uncoordinated. Simple as that.
It's playing to strengths. And I want to ask, Edwin, you've covered kind of what to do at residency, and I guess that is basically a very similar process to when you're at gigs, right?
Yeah, I'd say I don't think it's really like that different. I mean, I something I do is like I've got this from you guys. It's just maybe mention that you do events and stuff when I was at this gig the other day, and do it just so that subconsciously they register that this is what you do full time. But then again, I also feel like probably most people I perform to end up having a conversation with me after I've performed to them, asking me about that stuff anyway. Like I very rarely actually need to say that I do this full time, because people instantly after they've seen it, oh my god, wow, that was amazing. So what, you do this as a job? Like this is like this is what you do? And I'm like, yeah. And then and then it's much easier to slide into like, oh, by the way, do you guys have any sort of events or anything coming up? I'll give you a business card. You can follow me on Instagram. And then like the amount of times that works out is pretty good as well.
I love that. Reminds me of the quote, be so good they can't ignore you. If you're just a bloody good performer in the moment, there's no way they're going to be like, oh yeah, cool trick, and then just move on with their evening. No, they're going to want to talk to you. It's so good.
I think that's a big thing. Also, I like the idea of handing out your business card in a cool way as well, because I don't know, I feel like it just makes you stand out. So whether you have like a I know people who use their business card to create like an impossible object with it, or people who use it as a billet, or so that they remember, they've got this memory with your business card. Personally, I've used, or I quite often use when I can be asked to set it up and stuff, I use the Pyro wallet, which means you can hand out your business card on fire, which is quite cool, quite memorable. And then like the amount of people I've had be like, text, oh my god, you were the guy who handed out your business card on fire, weren't you? Like it's really cool. So yeah, but basically I'd say that their process for me is very similar at events and residencies. The only difference being I probably talk to them longer at an event because I have more time to, whereas when you're at a residency, often you're pressured to get around everyone. so you have slightly less time to spend, chatting to them after you've finished.
Well, exactly. I mean, if anything, to solidify everything you've said today, one, you get caught up a lot of time in your own mind, and when you can overcome that and understand yourself, you can achieve anything. You just have to put yourself a solid action plan in place and just kind of be thinking about what you actually want. And then two, from there, you're playing to your strengths, and your strengths are obviously using a social media platform that Instagram, and conversations, much like what we shared, our process on getting gigs and nurturing clients in episode 40, 41 and 42 of the Successful Mentalist podcast. Incidentally, we sent them to Sven, who's watching to this live. And they're some of my favorite podcasts because they break down our process. And that's all about talking and networking and communicating with people the right way. And is this the same for you when you don't have anything on, when you're just out and about and you want to get gigs?
Yeah, I mean, well, to be honest, I'd say, I don't know, things have changed for me recently. Like it depends where I am. If I'm out and about. So this is actually another great thing that I've done is I'm signed up to like all these events companies and stuff where I was doing events bartending, where I would go to an event and be a bartender there, and it's pretty decent pay, so it's not like wasn't like a chore, and you get to see these fun, cool places that you wouldn't otherwise necessarily get to do. So like I've got to do like work at like the races and then stuff like that, or like festivals, and I'm still doing this now and then, more from a point of view of it's just a fun day out, like, and I get paid for it. It's not really a big deal, and I quite enjoy bartending, so it's not a knockback on magic, but I'm actually using it to then get more gigs. So I use it from I worked at Goodwood races, and I just instantly, as soon as I got there, started doing magic to everyone. And then all the bar team knew that I was a magician, and then they're like, "What do you mean? What, you do this full time? You don't do this full time?" And then they were like, "Oh my god!" Calling the managers over, "You've got to check this out. Come and have a look at this." And then they were like, "Oh my god, no, you can't work on the bar. You need to go and show all the other managers this." And then, I go from person to person. I think the closest thing I've read to this is I think Dynamo said that in his books and stuff, this is the way that he used to perform for celebrities and stuff, is that he'd go to like a Snoop Dogg concert, and then he'd perform for like the security guard, and then ask the security guard if he could take him through to the next level, and then perform for this person and that person. And then he'd be doing Snoop Dogg's mum, and then suddenly he's in a Snoop Dogg music video. So I basically started doing that at events. So I'll go from person to person until now, like the person who manages events and stuff at Goodwood, who's like obviously does lots of events, now has like all my contact details, and I'll save like the best thing for last as well, and then I get to them, and then I've got this crowd of all these other managers who followed me the whole way along, and I've got like my own procession. And I'm still being paid the bartending wage for doing this as well. And then I'm there, and then I get in direct contact with the person that I want to talk to. So get yourself signed up to some sort of events company as like a waiter or a bartender or anything simple. You can be a kitchen porter, whatever it is, because it's really easy to network from that. Like I'm doing Chelsea Flower Show next week, where obviously tons of celebrities go and stuff like that. So I'm going to do the same thing there and see where it ends up.
Bloody genius. Every conversation with you just blows my mind. It's like there's always something new that's just so sneaky. I love it.
Thank you.
What did I say at the beginning of this podcast, Aidan? What did I say at the beginning? I had to give him the ego because he's too damn modest.
So true. It is so true. Well, no, Edwin, at this point, we've spoken about an awful lot of things, and I think you've given an absolute ton of really actionable points, advice, methods, strategies, you name it. You've said it in this episode. But obviously, as we're rounding out this podcast, I'd love to know, what is the one thing that you would suggest that everybody starts doing effective immediately to help improve their business, mindset, performance, or health?
I don't know. Can I give a couple of things? Give a few things.
Go on then. So, I'll let you off.
Only because it's you, and they're all going to be full of gold.
Listen to the Successful Mentalist podcast.
Hey,
obviously. Genuinely though, do at least one of your courses. I think that especially if you're starting out and you want to get into it, the Learn to Thrive course really helped me develop like all of the knowledge and background stuff so that I could go straight out and actually action it and do it. So that definitely do that. And just perform as much as possible, like become a confident performer, because I feel like, like a lot of people rely on like a lot of tricks and stuff to be able to get gigs and stuff, but and to get people to not forget you. But like I've always felt like I wanted to just be so good that like people didn't forget you, and and a large percentage of the time people don't remember you for the tricks that you did. Like they'll remember you because you were like a really easy person to talk to, or someone who like really engaged them. So I would say work on your sort of ability to talk to people and connect to people. It's not necessarily about like the tricks. It's about how you come across and present yourself, because I feel like that is just the most important thing when you're talking to people is how you make them feel, not what you show them.
I think that makes complete sense. It resonates with everything that we believe in here, and I'm so glad that everything has actually been able to implement and work straight away for you and actually see these tangible results. And honestly, I can safely say it. I know that Ashley was your coach during the Learn to Thrive program, but like hand on heart, you've had one of the most incredible transformations. And I'll be honest, I'd love to blame it all on Learn to Thrive, but at this rate, I don't even think we can. I think Edwin's just an absolute genius, and we just managed to snag him in at the right time.
Well, one more thing as well, I would say is it is like definitely, although it's going to be a learning curve, and like I've learned a lot in the last like month from doing this full time, is really try and actually learn some sort of like business knowledge and like stuff before you go in and start trying to do it as a full-time business. Like ask people for advice on like how not to get trying to think of like a polite way to say it, shafted at every corner, because people do try, and like I've had like cancellations and stuff where before I had like the knowledge that I have now, then I'd have to like refund these people loads of money, and that would really impact like my ability to do it full time. Whereas now I've got like I actually got a magician friend of mine to send me like his booking forms and stuff with and they have all like these terms and conditions, so there's no way you can get messed over. So I feel like and the same with like money managing and stuff, like how to set yourself up as like a proper business and not pay yourself a wage, and like give yourself make sure that you're ready for like the tax returns and everything like that, because I know it's like all the boring stuff, but I feel like it's something people skip over a lot of the time. I certainly skipped over it and then regretted it later and had to like learn in a much shorter period of time than I wish I had.
I love that you've basically dropped gold all the way through this episode. Exciting new things to do, exciting, amazing things, and meet new people and get more gigs, this, that, and the other. And then, one more thing. Tax. It's like, great. I just love how you've left all of the boring stuff to the end.
For every entrepreneur. Yeah, all the great stuff. By the way, tax. That's every entrepreneur, Aidan. Everyone, from Russell Brunson to Richard Branson to Elon Musk to Edwin. All the same, I'd argue.
Oh, that's fantastic.
But with that said, thank you so much for being here, Edwin, on the Successful Mentalist podcast. You mentioned the Learn to Thrive course. I'm so glad to see that you've done well from it and you've absolutely smashed it. So Aidan, I'm going to ask you a question. If anyone's been inspired by Edwin's transformation, his drive, determination, motivation, and the story from going from beginner to pro in such a short amount of time and quitting a job within 2 weeks. Like, that is incredible, Edwin. But if anyone's been inspired by that and wants to take action, where can they go if they want to apply for the Learn to Thrive course?
Well, if you want to actually jump on board, head over to thriveinmagic.com. You'll be prompted to fill out a short application, and essentially you jump onto a strategy session with myself and Ashley. We'll make sure that the course is a right fit for you. You're the right fit for the course, more importantly, because we're building a great community of people like Edwin that are out there actually doing this stuff. So if you are serious about taking your life and entertainment business to the next level, head over to thriveinmagic.com, pop in an application. It's totally free, and would love to see you inside.
We'll see you guys soon. Take care.